Georgia edge rusher Nolan Smith is currently tearing up the NFL Combine. Ran a 4.39 40-yard dash yesterday. Also did a 41.5-inch vertical. And while he's lighting up the Combine, he also took the podium and was asked why he didn't transfer out of Georgia, because he didn't see the field right away. And you look at what he was coming out of high school, #1 overall player in the country. If you're not playing right away, you're the #1 player. There's always going to be some murmurs of, are they going to jump in the portal? Are they going to look for a better situation? And I thought his answer to this was really interesting, and we need to unpack it just a little bit more. So he answered the question of why didn't you transfer when you weren't playing right away as follows. He said, quote, "Kids need to hear this. Stick it out. Just because things get tough, don't run away from things. In life, when things get tough, you're going to quit on your wife. You're going to quit on your kids. You're going to transfer on your wife and kids when things get tough. If you're married to your wife for 10 years and she gets cancer, you're just going to get up and leave. That's how I think of it. You be a man of character no matter what you do, and that's how my mom raised me," end quote. So Nolan Smith here is not giving an anti-transfer message. There's some more context to this that we need to unpack a little bit, but I think the messaging itself is actually pretty foolproof. Really quickly, though, if you have not yet subscribed to the On3 YouTube channel, would love to have you part of this whole operation. Also, follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at JDPakel to stay up with every single thing that we got going on here. Like I said, college football content every single day. Nolan Smith is not saying never transfer. He's not saying he's anti-portal. He's not saying he's anti-people who do transfer. What he is saying, though, is you should not just transfer when things get difficult. And Georgia's a unique situation because Georgia is a proven process. Georgia has proven on many occasions with a myriad of different talents, if you have one good season in Athens, all your dreams can come true. Be a first-round NFL pick. You can go and make a whole lot of money in the league. You can put everything that you need to on tape at the University of Georgia if you just have one good season. So what does that require of you as a player? You need to wait your turn. You need to be developed. You need to go through the process that the other guys in front of you went through. Because guess what? At Georgia, Nolan Smith was the #1 player in the 2019 class. But in front of him were other really good players in their respective classes that have been in the system longer, that have waited their turn, that have gone through scout team. I remember we listened to Kirby Smart after the national title game, sat in that press conference after the confetti had just dropped down, and they asked him about using the portal and why Georgia doesn't have a lot of guys ultimately transfer out. He said because they've seen if they play on the scout team for a little bit and wait their turn and do things the right way, their process, their development, it works. And so I say all that to frame this correctly. Nolan Smith is saying, I understood I had to wait my turn to get where I wanted to go. And if you have to wait your turn, you shouldn't just transfer. You shouldn't just run at the first sign of opposition. Now, what I would say here as well is every situation is different. Georgia, like I said, you can have one good year, accomplish all you want to, but the portal is also a tool. You can abuse tools, but the portal is a tool that can ultimately lead to your benefit. You can use the portal to get into a good situation. Okay, so if I'm at a certain school, let's use Joe Burrow, for example. He wasn't playing at Ohio State. For right or wrong, Joe Burrow was not the quarterback of the Ohio State Buckeyes. And so in order for him to eventually become who he became, he had to switch situations. Now, this is a whole other conversation about how you feel about grad transfers and when's the right time to transfer. But the bottom line is not all situations are created equal. If you have aspirations to go play in the NFL, likely you have to put something on tape for scouts. And Joe Burrow wasn't going to be able to accomplish that at Ohio State, whether you agree with it or not. So he went to LSU, became what he became. That's a perfect example of using the portal for good. But I think the sentiment that Nolan Smith is hitting on here, again, which is don't just run at the first sign of opposition, is on the money. Because we have this problem in society. We don't like opposition. I think more so now than ever before are we uncomfortable with meeting a challenge head on. Look at the transfer portal itself. On the first day that it was open this past season, 465 guys jumped into the portal. I'm sure some for good reasons, some maybe for not as good reasons, but just the sheer volume, the sheer numbers should tell you that we have a number of people in our society that don't want to meet challenges head on. And I think ultimately that's just going to later in life show itself. And I don't mean to get too philosophical here, but running from hard things, whether it be college football or otherwise, is just prolonging the need to problem solve. Like if you transfer out of a school because this guy's better than you and you're not going to win the job and you don't want to compete for it, well, guess what? You're going to have to go to another school. It doesn't mean you don't have to compete. It means maybe you're in a better position to compete, or maybe you're favored to win the job there, but you still have to go in and make deposits and absolutely win the job still. You still have to compete for what you want to attain. Even if you don't have to at the college level, even if you walk in, you're the guy day one, for whatever reason, it's signed, sealed, delivered, you're our guy. What happens when you get to the NFL? You have to compete for your job there. Is that really the first time you want to have to start competing? Is that really the first time you want to start facing that problem head on? Opposition is consistent. And what Nolan Smith is saying here is, at some degree, if it's not something that is a bad situation and not defined as a bad situation for you, it's just opposition, how you handle that and growing familiar in handling that is going to benefit you in the long term. I 1,000% believe Nolan Smith will be a better professional player because of how he handled his situation at Georgia. Nolan Smith was going to the NFL regardless. If he did transfer out and go somewhere else, Nolan Smith is still going to be an NFL player. He's just too talented, number one player in the 2019 class. He would have gone to the league. But the fact that he was developed, went through opposition, competed, waited his turn, that's going to make him a better NFL player in the long run. So I think what Nolan Smith said is on the money. We can't just run when things get hard. To the same token, the transfer portal is a positive tool for college athletes. I think you can have a little bit of both. But again, Nolan Smith not giving an anti-transfer message, but giving an anti-running away from opposition message. I'm all about it. And very excited to see what he becomes when he gets to the professional level. But again, Nolan Smith tearing up the combine and dropping some knowledge. Why is that? This is the hard count. Every single thing that you and I both know and love about this beautiful game, we talk about it here every single day. We're live twice a week, so make sure you're tuned in. We're on podcast, on Apple, and on Spotify. Wherever you get them, you can find the hard count. Nick, break, lifting heavy. This is your show. So we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We're going to keep the party rolling, and we will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.